I caught my wife in bed with another man and kicked her out. Story 1. I, 25 male, caught my wife, 24 female, cheating 4 days ago. Need help moving forward. To provide some context, my wife and I met when we were approximately 10 years old. We've had a thing for each other since we were kids, but it wasn't until we were 18 that it became serious. I knew she was madly in love with me, and I was madly in love with her, therefore the only logical next step was marriage. When we were 21, I proposed to her on Valentine's Day over a weekend away, and the rest is history. We both make ends meet with respectable careers, lovely well-kept homes, no children, a great group of friends, and polite families. In my opinion, everything was wonderful. When I started using her phone, the adultery began. I saw messages to a man from her workplace. This wasn't overt flirting, but it was unusual and provocative to me. He'd say things like, "I've had such a long day at work." And she'd say things like, "I've had such a long day at work." I confessed that I have a temper, and I was not going to let this happen. I told her she couldn't contact him, that she couldn't block him in front of my face, and that she wouldn't of me if she did. She did all I requested of her. This leads me to Sunday evening. My cousin and I run a company together. We began it at the age of 20 and it quickly took off. We have an office where I sometimes sleep when my job load becomes too much for me. I generally order in and get the job done, and if it's too late, I'll sleep it off. So I texted my wife about lunchtime. Me and cousin are probably going to be held here all night. I'll order in so you can dine without me and don't have to wait up. I adore you. She answered minutes later, saying she was sorry she wouldn't be able to meet me that night, but she wished me luck with my job and stated she loved me as well. Everything was fine. Think about late that night. I decided that work had eaten up too much of my weekend and that I needed to visit my wife, whom I assumed also wanted to see me. So, about 7 p.m., I started making my way home. When I arrived home, I heard voices upstairs but couldn't make them out. So I walked up and saw my wife and the man. I acknowledged that I didn't manage it as well as I could have. I began by hitting his as he attempted to look, "Dude, I'm sorry." I threw him out and told him he had to go home without his shoes. My wife was frantic from the time I stepped in, and I almost got violent with her as well, but I didn't. Throughout it all, she screamed and cried, stating it was a foolish mistake, but by this time, my fears from the text conversations had been validated. I constantly urged her to conserve her breath and that I didn't want to hear any of her illogical justifications. I debated returning to the office, but I instructed her to gather her bags and remain wherever she could. I needed her out of my sight. Since then, she has remained with her closest buddy. Since then, her friends and family have blown up but I've ignored them. I did, however, inform her father of what had occurred. He was furious and sided with me. My rage has given way to regret at the idea that our nearly lifetime adventure has been thrown away for some sleazy person from her workplace from the first day. I've been keeping busy, but I'd be lying if I claimed I haven't spent every spare time sulking/crying lamenting over what occurred. I'll be calling attorneys first thing tomorrow morning to start the divorce process. A lot has transpired since the previous article. I apologize in advance for the length of this post. Also, I'd want to express how much I liked everyone's comments on the first post. I've done quite a few things since the initial post. I had my STD tested and everything was okay. I turned over my portion of the company to my business partner, relative, temporarily until the divorce is finalized. I terminated her phone contract that I paid for, haha. I took down all of her photographs, I packed all of her clothing, and I've been up with someone. So let me get started. The fact that my STD test came back negative was a positive start, but it wasn't enough to lift my spirits. I won't sugarcoat it, the issue still bothered me. I couldn't forget about it since she and her friends were continually blowing up my phone. I ultimately went to meet with her parents. Her mother tried to get me back into the family, but her father knew I was set in my ways and was disappointed in his daughter. This occurred around 2 days following the post. I like her father and think we'll keep in touch since we're both simple guys who understand one another. I've always admired him and it's a pity his daughter is preventing me from officially being his son anymore. I ignored her friends who had phoned me more times than I could count. It helped that I spent a lot of time with my friends and family. I had a buddy over and we spent a few hours photographing her and removing all of her belongings from the home. This was really soothing for me and it felt like I was removing a stain from my life. It was much more beneficial than I anticipated. Divorce processes have begun. However, I fear I will have severe difficulties with her signing the documents and so forth. I've already signed away my stake of my business so she can't get her paws on it. I've avoided any communication except with attorneys as you all instructed. I debated using the man's wife as leverage in case he attempted to bring charges against me. I laid hands on him when I caught him in my home. Finally, I reasoned, why not, and messaged her on Facebook. She originally believed me, but then stated he informed her it was a lie. All I had to do was show her the doorbell video of him approaching my front door and getting escorted out without his shoes. I don't believe he's still blissfully married. Now for the next chapter. My mom believed I'd like attending her work's Christmas party. I figured why not? I hadn't gone out since the event and needed a break. I went and was introduced to the daughter of one of her co-workers. We hit it off and left the party together, but we didn't that night. She came over a couple nights before Christmas Eve and we hit it off right away. We upped many times and she stayed for 2 nights. Now, she's not a love at first sight substitute for my wife, but she is a nice lady who is surely keeping me company at a time when I need it the most. Christmas Day was more difficult than I imagined since I'd spent it with my so for a long, but having my family around me, feeding and watering me, helped a lot. Overall, I believe I am dealing much better than I anticipated. I just wanted to thank everyone who reached out to me, everyone who left a kind remark, and everyone who has gone through the same situation and is still standing strong. Story 2. She cheated and I thought we were a success story. I blogged last Sunday on what would have been our 23rd wedding anniversary, but I never told my story. Someone who wrote a kind remark urged me to share. So here we go. My wife and I met in college, married in graduate school, and have 2 wonderful children. There were occasional challenges, but overall life was really wonderful. We were seated at the kitchen table during tax season 3 years ago. We were talking about money, not just the monthly budget, but the larger picture. I thought it was strange that she was texting during such a crucial discussion. It wasn't because I was messaging the kids. They were both at home. I'm still not sure what possessed me to steal her phone from her grasp in the middle of a text. I'd never suspected anything before, at least not consciously. She gave me a horrified look, so I dashed into the other room with the phone and shut the door. The text thread was about her AP and a weekend in Vegas. I was really taken aback. She was shouting and weeping as she pounded on the door. I pretended to be her and texted him. "I can't wait to get between the covers with you again," I wrote. He confirmed that they were sleeping together in his answer. I phoned my brother when I was confined in the room. He came over and persuaded my wife to spend a few days with him. Naturally, drama followed, but after a few months of my living aboard the boat, we decided to attempt to reconcile. We attended weekly counseling sessions, both together and separately. For approximately a year, we each attended to 2 sessions every week. Some ground rules were established. One of the rules was that she never contact AP again. It wasn't a sacrifice since she had no work or social ties to him other from the affair. It was a true struggle. I was filled with rage, anxiety, agony, hope, and despair. Things gradually began to settle into a new normal. I began to love life with her again. I assumed we were a success story. I used to often check for a P phone number in our phone company's call record without her awareness. As time passed, I did less and less searching. I performed the search almost a year ago, again without suspicion, and there it was. They had 2 calls of 2 minutes apiece, followed by 2 calls of more than 30 minutes each. I dialed AP phone and his name was stated on the voicemail. I decided that leaving a recording of my thoughts for him would be a bad idea, so I hung up. I was devastated. All of the recovered trust vanished in an instant. I started by surreptitiously shifting money around, changing passwords, hiring a lawyer, and obtaining a place to reside. I approached her after that. I informed her that she had violated the ground rule and that I was leaving in file for divorce. I went on to emphasize that there was nothing she could say or do to alter my view and that further conversation on the subject was worthless. Drama, of course, followed. I've been gone for over a year. We get along well as co-parents and the divorce process has gone well. Our children are doing well and are generally content. Those are, I suppose, successes. Story 2. I just got cheated on and I don't know how to move on with my life. Hello, everyone. This is my first Reddit post and it's about something that never occurred to me. I'm a 21-year-old woman who will graduate from college in a few months. I've had a difficult existence, but things have seemed to be improving in recent months. They just recently broke up again and my ex-boyfriend was the reason. Before I go to my cheating ex-boyfriend, there are a few things you should know. For the last 2 years, I considered myself a lesbian, since the only other person I've ever loved was my female best friend, and the notion of male genitalia made me sick. I've had a lot of trauma with males, as well as daddy problems, and it persuaded me that I couldn't be with a guy. Until Adam came along 20. Adam was my first buddy. We met in September of last year, and didn't become truly good friends until October. We did everything together, from library research and to park visits to swimming. He was kind to me. When we went outdoors and it was below freezing, he handed me his gloves. When I was sad and couldn't stop sobbing, he brought me to the park and showed me all his thinking places. He was incredibly kind and always eager to listen. When I was feeling like I had nothing positive about myself, he wrote me a message explaining everything about me that was likable. Adam had a female companion. He had a girlfriend whom he allegedly despised, and he was always criticizing her, labeling her as domineering and poisonous. I believed him because he was such a kind person and even showed me text conversations that added to the credibility of the deception. When he admitted he loved me, he claimed the following day he banned his ex, and we began dating a few days later. On our first day, we went roller skating, and that was insane. I didn't believe I could fall out of love with my first love or look at a guy without feeling terrified, but he was kind and he made me feel comfortable. Being myself around him, I trusted him, thought he was beautiful, and thought he was a decent man. The first month went well, even perfect. Things went wrong in the second month. Our relationship had been going swiftly, and I was catching profound emotions, much too soon, but I thought we'd be together forever. He felt that way about me, the last person I'd ever love, but I didn't know it didn't apply to him. There were so many warning signals that I overlooked, such as him still having a Snapchat streak with his ex and constantly communicating to her, and him being so phobic that I wanted to quit eating. They did eventually find me. I discovered he was gaslighting me, emotionally abusing me, and duly pressuring me after speaking with some common acquaintances. He even forbade us from touching at one point because I was making too many excuses regarding us, despite the fact that I never lied. I was going to break up with him as soon as I knew this, but the same day I made that decision, I discovered he had been on a break, if that's what it was, with his ex for the entire period of our relationship, and I was essentially his side piece. He didn't really love me, and everything good he did was an effort to keep me under his control. And everything he stated was a lie, and I'm still finding out fresh lies from him. We made plans for the future, and they were all nonsense. Edit. Since I didn't provide much background, I simply wanted to mention a couple things he's done. I ended up giving in on Jules' stuff like head and hand *BS because I was afraid he'd leave me if I wasn't physical. Second, when I challenged him about his relationship with his ex, he branded me a liar and claimed that he never stated he blocked her on Snapchat when he did. Third, there was a time when I went to a restaurant with a friend and he got angry because I didn't invite him, due to him being phobic and me not wanting my friend to suffer from his prejudiced sense of humor. And he ended up going there too with a mutual friend, and he ended up ignoring me even when I said hi, texting memes to a guy who usually harassed me, and making incredibly cruel comments about my friend to our mutual friend. Fourth, he lied about girls not liking him in high school, the cause of his cancer, why his father smokes weed, said it was for back pain, but it turns out it's for extreme, borderline abusive anger issues and his ex being toxic. Turns out she's incredibly sweet and he just wanted to play the victim. All of this I learned since one of our common acquaintances went to high school with him. I'd appreciate some advice. It's just been a week, yet I'm still furious and resentful. Every time I see him, I become so hot that I want to scream. How should I proceed? Now look at some replies. Come. You get mad, really mad, cry, scream, in a pillow if necessary, break something, hit something, safely, listen to sad horrible music, watch terrible sad movies. Then tomorrow wake up, get ready and start the rest of your wonderful life without that freaking loser. Focus on getting the FK out of college and having an amazing life. This is just a small blip in it that will teach you very valuable lessons in future relationships. So, learn them and next time remember this. You got this and you will do great things. Just remember life is very hard and really sucks. You want to be with someone that makes it suck less, brings the absolute best out of you and makes you smile. If they make your life harder, bring out the worst in you and make you cry, you are better off alone. Opus says, thank you. I've been trying to focus on the future while giving myself time to mourn our love as well. It's hard juggling both, but it's important that I keep moving. It just sucks right now because he's like a parasite sucking all the good out of me, and I keep thinking about how much I want the memory of him wiped from my brain. I should view him as a lesson though. Yeah, it sucks this happened, but he isn't the end or the only person out there for me. I have to keep reminding myself of that until I know it's the truth. Next, honestly, you're too emotionally invested in this. You have to take a step back and put your emotions to the side and dissect all that he did to you. The more you can see the game he played and how you fell for it, the less you will find that you actually love him. He's a narcissist and he saw you as a challenge. Also, he did see that you are a broken person. He knew that he could do this to you because these narcissists have a radar to find the broken people. You can make lists if it helps you to see that he was playing you. A good list the ways he made you love him and realize those were lies, then rip that list up. Then a bad list all the ways he gaslighted you and all the cheating he did. Keep that list with you to see the real person. He may even try to be with you again. Please know he's just a sad poss that can't love anyone because he doesn't even love himself. Opus says, you're so right. I'm driving myself crazy by obsessing and ruminating over this. And I really do need to stop investing so much energy into him when it's very likely he doesn't give a FK about me. The lists are a really good idea, I didn't even think about that. I plan on starting to journal, so I really might try the lists. My memory sucks, so it might just help me realize that even the good memories are tainted and you should be a piece of the past altogether. Next, I just think you need time to thoroughly think, sit with yourself, and pull out all of those inner feelings you got tucked away. It's good you're in therapy and that's where you start. Don't give yourself any timeline. Don't allow yourself to let this situation be the origin of more pain or confusion. You're still understanding your duality and path in life, so just put one foot in front of the other. Apply yourself in therapy and keep any preconceived notions about what it's supposed to do for you out of sight. Enjoy each day as another step in the right direction for your happiness and future. That guy was showing his true colors. Try to find hobbies you enjoy and you can meet new people that way. Bowling, pottery, which I'm interested in, sports, etc. I'd also steer away from romantic relationships right now and focus on family, friends, and your budding career. Your first tangible step is establishing yourself in therapy with someone you mesh well with and can help you unfold your questions and issues. Good luck. Opus says, thank you so much for mentioning the preconceived notions. That's something I have a bad habit of doing, and I need to go into therapy tomorrow with an open mind and heart. If I go in there thinking I'll be magically healed or end up disappointed, nothing good will come out of it. Like a self-fulfilling prophecy, haha. Next calm might seem as a weird pitch, but try to use empathy even though it's probably hard. Try to understand why he did those things, not as an excuse for him, but for understanding the psychological function of the person. Try to envision all the reasons he acted poorly and what he lacked in situations that needed more maturity and compassion. The fastest way and the healthiest way to move on IMO is to grow a sort of pity for the person because he wasn't able to be a better person because of his unresolved issues. Realize that you are not the reason for his actions. We all have our demons we fight, and no one showed us how to manage self. Keep your head up, don't question your self-worth, and strive to be a better person each month. I wish you peace. Ab says, I really like this idea a lot. I've been villainizing him and all my friends have warned me against it because the minute you make someone a villain you lose a part of yourself and stall your healing process. It ends up so unresolved. I appreciate you mentioning this because it's so toxic to get into a cycle of hating someone and dehumanizing them. Eventually I gotta realize he's a person too and he get up exponentially, but there's always a reason someone does what they do.